We are what we think. OSHO on Gautama Buddha. Phenomena are preceded by the heart, ruled by the heart, made of the heart. If you speak or act with a corrupted heart, then suffering follows you. As the wheel of the cart, the track of the ox, that pulls it. Phenomena are preceded by the heart, ruled by the heart, made of the heart. If you speak or act with a calm, bright heart, then happiness follows you like a shadow that never leaves. The Buddha, Dhammapada 1:2. My beloved bodhisattvas, yes, that is how I see you and how you must begin to look at yourselves. A bodhisattva is, in essence, the Buddha still latent in a seed, the Buddha who slumbers, yet brimming with the potential to awaken. In that sense, everyone is a bodhisattva, but not everyone can rightly be called one. Only those who have begun groping in search of light, those who have started to yearn for the dawn, whose hearts have transformed a mere seed into a sprout beginning to grow. You are a bodhisattva because your yearning is conscious and alert because you pursue truth. Truth is not far away, yet few in this world are fortunate enough to long for it. It is close, but attaining it is arduous and demanding, not difficult by its very nature, but because of our own investment in falsehood. We have invested countless lifetimes in falsehood. Our commitment is so vast that merely the thought of truth fills us with dread. We wish to evade it, to escape from truth. Falsehood offers a beautiful escape, a realm of convenient, comfortable dreams. But dreams remain just dreams. They may enchant you momentarily. They may enslave you for a fleeting instant, but only for a moment. And each dream is followed by overwhelming disappointment and every desire by profound failure. Yet we persist in plunging into new falsehoods. If an old falsehood is exposed, we instantly fabricate a new one. Remember, only falsehood can be invented. Truth cannot be concocted. Truth is already there. Truth must be discovered, not fabricated. Falsehood, on the other hand, cannot be discovered. It must be invented. The mind finds solace in falsehood because it becomes the inventor, the maker. And when the mind assumes the role of maker, the ego is born. In the realm of truth, you have nothing to do. And because there is nothing to do, the mind quiets. And with that stillness, the ego vanishes, evaporates. That is the risk, the ultimate risk. You have embraced that risk. You have taken a few steps, faltering, stumbling, groping, hesitating with much doubt. But you have still advanced a few steps, and for that, I call you a bodhisattva. The Bridge of Silence and the Dhammapada, the teachings of Gautama Buddha, can only be taught to bodhisattvas. It cannot be taught to ordinary people, for they simply cannot comprehend it. These words of the Buddha emanate from eternal silence. They can reach you only if you receive them in that same silence. They spring from boundless purity. Until you become a vessel, humble, selfless, alert, and aware, you will never be able to understand them. Intellect may grasp them. They are as simple as words can be. Yet it is precisely their simplicity that poses the challenge, for you are not simple. To truly understand simplicity, your heart must be simple, for only a simple heart can comprehend elementary truths. Only purity can understand what is born of purity. I have waited for so long. Now the time is ripe. You are ready. The seed may now be sown. These vast, profound words can be uttered once again. In 25 centuries, there has never been a gathering like this. Yes, there have been a few enlightened masters with a handful of disciples, at most about 50, and in those small meetings the Dhammapada was taught. Yet such small assemblies cannot transform an entire giant humanity. It is like trying to sweeten the ocean with a spoonful of sugar. Your sugar is simply in vain. A grand experiment never before attempted is at hand, one so immense that it might at least awaken the very essence of humanity, the soul at its core. At the periphery, the mundane mind will remain asleep. Let them sleep. But at the very center, where true intelligence dwells, a light may be kindled. The time is ripe. The moment has come. My entire undertaking here is to create a Buddha field, a realm of energy where these eternal truths can be proclaimed anew. It is a rare opportunity, one that appears only occasionally after many centuries. Do not let it slip away. Be alert, be attentive. Listen to these words not only with your mind but with your heart, with every fiber of your being, so that your whole self may be stirred. And after these 10 days of silence, the precise moment has arrived to bring the Buddha back, to revive him within you, to let him move within you, to allow the wind of the Buddha to blow through you. Yes, he can be recalled once more, for no one ever truly vanishes. The Buddha is no longer a being confined to a body. Certainly, he does not exist as an individual anywhere, but his essence, his spirit, is now part of the cosmic soul. If many, many people with profound longing, with boundless yearning, with hearts in prayer, desire that, if they passionately and wholly crave it, then the soul that has merged into the cosmic soul can manifest in millions of ways. No true teacher ever dies. A teacher cannot die. Death does not come for them. It does not exist in their realm. Thus, they remain teachers. They have known the eternal nature of life. They have seen that while the body may vanish, it is not all there is. The body is but a periphery, a shell. It is a dwelling, a temporary abode, but the guest within never disappears. The guest merely moves from one shelter to another. Someday, ultimately, the guest may begin to live in the open air, without shelter, yet the guest endures. The body, the house, comes and goes, is born and dies. But what lies within continues on. It is eternal, timeless, immortal. Whenever you are able to love a teacher such as Jesus, the Buddha, Zarathustra, or Lao Tzu, with a complete, all-consuming passion, you are instantly bridged. My words about the Buddha are not mere commentary. They are creating a bridge. The Buddha is one of the greatest teachers who has ever walked this earth, unequaled, unique. And if you can experience his embodiment, you will be blessed beyond measure. I am overjoyed, for after these 10 days of silence, I can tell you that many among you are now ready to communicate with me in silence. That is the ultimate form of exchange. Words are inadequate. They can only express a part. Silence, however, communicates in its entirety. And using words is a dangerous game, for the meaning remains with me. Only the words reach you, and you will assign to them your own meaning, your own hue. They will not contain the truth they were intended to convey. They will hold something else, something far poorer. They will contain your meaning, not mine. You may twist language. Indeed, it is nearly impossible to avoid twisting language, but you cannot distort silence. Either you understand or you do not. Yet this time, you have pulled me back. In these 10 days, there are only two kinds of people, those who understand and those who do not. Yet no one can misunderstand silence. That is its beauty. The boundary is absolute. Either you understand or simply you do not. There is no room for misunderstanding. With words, on the contrary, it is very difficult to understand, and even more so to understand that you do not understand. Those two are almost impossible. And the only possibility is the third, misunderstanding. These 10 days have been wondrously beautiful, imbued with a mysterious majesty. I no longer truly belong to this shore. My ship has been waiting for me for a long time. I must depart. By a miracle, I remain in this body. All of creation belongs to you, to your love, to your prayers, to your yearning. You wish me to linger a little longer on this shore, and thus the impossible has become possible. The essence of Dhamma. These words of the Buddha are called the Dhammapada, the Dharma dispensation. This name must be understood. Dhamma, that is Dharma, has many meanings. It signifies the supreme law, the divine utterance. The supreme law is that which holds the entire universe together. It is invisible, intangible, but undeniable. Without it, this universe would collapse. Such a vast, boundless, and harmoniously operating universe is ample proof that there must be an undercurrent connecting everything, binding all things, bridging all existence, that we are not isolated islands, that even the smallest blade of grass is linked to the greatest star. Destroy a single blade of grass, and you have shattered something immensely valuable to existence itself. In existence, there is no hierarchy. Nothing is inherently small or great. The largest star and the tiniest blade of grass exist on equal footing. Hence, another meaning of Dhamma is fairness, equality, a non-hierarchical state of being. Absolute existence is communal. It recognizes no classes, for it is all one. Thus, another aspect of Dhamma is justice. And the third meaning is uprightness, virtue. Existence is profoundly virtuous. Even if you encounter something you cannot label as virtuous, it is due to your own misunderstanding. For existence is unquestionably virtuous. Whatever occurs here always unfolds as it should. Wrong never truly happens. It might appear wrong to you because you have your own notions of what is right, but when you observe without prejudice, nothing is amiss. Everything is exactly as it ought to be. Birth is right, death is right, beauty is right, and ugliness is right. Yet our minds are small, our understanding limited. We cannot grasp the whole. We only perceive a fragment. We are like those hiding behind a door, peering out at the world through a keyhole. That person sees bits and pieces. Someone walking by, a car suddenly dashing past. One moment it is absent, the next it appears, and then it vanishes forever. Such is the way we view existence. We speak of something as belonging to the future, then it slips into the present, and soon it drifts into the past. In truth, time is a human invention. It is always now. Existence knows neither past nor future. It only knows the present. And yet, here we sit, peering through our keyholes. One moment someone is absent, then suddenly they appear, and just as swiftly as they emerge, they vanish again. Now you must create time. Before a person appears, they are in the future. They exist there, but to you, they belong to what is yet to come. Then they appear. Now they are in the present, and they remain so. And you can no longer see them through your keyhole. They have become the past. There is nothing of the past, nothing of the future. Everything is always the present. But our way of seeing is profoundly limited. Thus, we keep asking why there is suffering in this world, why things are the way they are. Why? If we could see the whole picture, all these whys would vanish. And to see the whole, you must step out of your room. You must open the door. You must abandon this keyhole perspective. This is what the mind is, a keyhole, and a very small one at that. Compared to the vast universe, what are our eyes, our ears, our hands? What can we truly grasp? Nothing significant, and yet we become overly attached to these tiny fragments of truth. If you perceive the whole, everything appears as it should. That is the meaning of everything is right. Wrong does not exist. Only God exists. The devil is a human invention. The third meaning of Dhamma might be God. But the Buddha never used the word God because it had become mistakenly linked to the notion of a person, whereas the law is about presence, not personality. Thus, the Buddha never used the term God, yet whenever he wished to convey something about the divine, he employed the word Dhamma. His mind was that of an extraordinarily deep scientist. Because of this, many assumed him an atheist, but he was not. He was the greatest theist the world has ever known or will ever know, and yet he never spoke of God. He simply never used that word. However, through the term Dhamma, he precisely alluded to God. That which is the meaning of the word God, and that is exactly what Dhamma signifies. Dhamma also means discipline, another facet of the term. Those who seek truth must impose discipline on themselves in many ways. Do not forget the meaning of discipline. It simply refers to the capacity to learn, the readiness to learn, the ability to be receptive to learning. Hence the term disciple. A disciple is one who is willing to cast aside old prejudices, set aside their own mind and examine matters without any preconceived notions. And Dhamma also signifies the ultimate truth. When the mind vanishes, when the ego disappears, then what remains? Something undoubtedly remains, yet it cannot be called something. Thus the Buddha referred to it as nothingness. But let me remind you, with nothingness, you may misunderstand him, for whenever he used the term nothingness, he meant nothing at all. The supreme law is not a thing. It is not an object that you can observe. It is your inner quality. It is your subjectivity. The inexpressible truth. One thing of great significance, allow it to sink deep into your heart. Truth has never been a theory or a hypothesis. It is always an experience. Thus, my truth cannot be your truth. My truth remains solely mine. It cannot become yours. We cannot share it. Truth is not shareable, not transferable, not exchangeable, not expressible. I can explain to you the way I reached it, but I cannot say what it is. The method can be explained, but not the why. Discipline can be pointed out, yet its purpose cannot be revealed. Each person must arrive at it in their own way, within the depths of their own inner being. In absolute solitude, it is disclosed. And then there is the term pada. Pada too has many meanings. Firstly, in its most fundamental sense, it means the path. Religion has two dimensions, the what and the how. The what cannot be articulated, it is beyond words, but the how can be conveyed, it can be shared. That is the meaning of the path. I can show you the path. I can indicate the way I traveled, how I reached those sunlit peaks. I can describe the entire geography of it, its complete terrain. I can hand you a map of the journey, but I cannot tell you how it feels atop that sunlit summit. Just as you might ask Edmund Hillary or Tenzing how they reached the highest peak of the Himalayas, they could give you the full map of their ascent. Yet if you ask them how they felt at the summit, they would merely shrug. Surely what they must have experienced cannot be put into words. The beauty, the blessing, that vast sky, the soaring heights, the myriad hues of the clouds, the radiant sun and pristine air, and the untouched white snow that no one has trodden before, none of these can be conveyed. One must reach those sunlit heights to truly know them. Pada also means a step, a footprint, a foundation. All these meanings carry significance. You must depart from where you are. You must evolve into a grand process, a maturation. Many have become stagnant puddles. They must become rivers, for only a river reaches the ocean. This too implies a foundation, the very fundamental truth of life. Without the Dhamma, without any relation to the ultimate truth, your life lacks foundation, meaning and significance. It cannot possess any glory. It will become an exercise in utter futility. If you are not bridged to the whole, you cannot have any distinct meaning of your own. You will remain like a piece of driftwood, at the mercy of the wind, uncertain of where you are going and unaware of who you are. The quest for truth, the passionate pursuit of truth, the act of building a bridge, all of these give you foundation. These scriptures, composed into the Dhammapada, must be understood not through the intellect but through existence. Become like a sponge. Let it absorb water. Let it be immersed within you. Do not sit there and judge. Otherwise, you will miss the Buddha. Do not endlessly debate in your mind whether it is right or wrong. You will miss the point. Do not be preoccupied with whether it is right or wrong. The first and most crucial step is to understand what it is, what the Buddha is saying, what he is striving to say. There is no need to evaluate it immediately. The fundamental need is to grasp precisely what he implies. And the beauty is that if you truly understand what it means, you will be convinced of its truth. You will know its truth. Truth has its own way of persuading everyone. It needs no other evidence. Truth has never been a matter for debate. It is a hymn, not a deduction. Scripture. We are what we think. Everything we are arises from our thoughts. With our thoughts, we create the world. It must be repeated to you. Eastern mystics believe that this world is an illusion, and truly so. They not only believe that the world is unreal, illusory, Maya. They know it is Maya, a dream. Yet when they speak of samsara, the world, they are not referring to the objective realm that science studies. No, not at all. They do not mean the world of trees, mountains, and rivers. They speak of the world you weave within your own mind as the wheel of thought endlessly spins and creates. Samsara has nothing to do with the external world. There are three things to remember. First is the external, objective world, the one that science investigates. The Buddha never spoke of it, for it was not his concern. He was no Albert Einstein. Then there is a second world, the realm of the mind, the subject of study for psychoanalysts, psychiatrists, and psychologists. The Buddha had little to say about it, indeed just one point, that it is an illusion, that it lacks any inherent substance, whether objectively or subjectively, that it lies in between. The first world is the objective one. The second is the world of the mind. And the third is your subjectivity, your inner realm, your very self. The Buddha's guidance points toward the deepest core of your being, yet you remain too entangled with your mind. Until he helps you break free from its traps, you will never access the third, the real world, the essence within you. That is why he begins with the statement, "We are what we think." This is true for every person. Each individual is essentially his mind. Everything we are arises from our thoughts. Imagine for a moment that all thought suddenly ceases. Then, who are you? If every thought stops for an instant, who are you? No answer would emerge. You could not say, "I am a Christian," "I am a Protestant," "I am a Hindu," or "I am a Muslim," for without thought, words like the Quran, the Bible, the Gita, every word would vanish. You wouldn't even be able to utter your own name. All language would disappear, leaving you unable to claim any nationality or race. When thought halts, who are you? You are nothing, an emptiness, a void. It is precisely for this reason that the Buddha employed a striking term, one never before used by mystics, nor ever since. While other mystics always used the word self to denote the innermost core of your being, the Buddha chose no self. And I wholeheartedly agree with him. His expression is far more precise, far closer to the truth. Using the word self, even if capitalized as self, hardly makes any difference. It continuously reinforces the notion of a self, and with that capital S, it might even inflate it further. The Buddha did not use the terms Atma, self, or Atta. Instead, he directly employed the opposite, no self, anatman, anatta. He declared that when the mind comes to a halt, no self remains. You become the universe, transcending the boundaries of the ego. You are pure space, untainted by anything. You become nothing more than a mirror reflecting nothingness. We are what we think. Everything we are arises from our thoughts. With our thoughts, we create the world. If you truly wish to know who you are, you must learn to stop thinking as a mind, to suspend all thought. That is what meditation is all about. Meditation means stepping out of the realm of thought, abandoning the mind, and entering the state known as no mind. And within no mind, you will come to know the ultimate truth, the Dhamma. The transition from mind to no mind is a step, a pada, and this, in essence, is the secret of the Dhammapada. Speak or act with an unclean mind, and trouble will follow you, like wheels trailing the axle of a cart. Whenever the Buddha used the phrase unclean mind, you might misunderstand it. By unclean mind, he simply meant the mind, as all minds are inherently unclean. The mind, in its natural state, is unclean, whereas no mind is pure. Purity is no mind. Uncleanliness is the mind. Speak or act with the unclean mind, that is, with the mind, and inevitably trouble follows. Suffering is the byproduct, the shadow of the mind, an illusionary shadow. Suffering is a nightmare. You suffer simply because you remain asleep, and there is no escape from it while you are still asleep. Until you awaken, the nightmare endures. It may take on countless forms, but it will persist. Suffering is the shadow of the mind. The mind is asleep, unconscious, unaware. The mind does not know who you are, yet pretends that you do, that you understand the purpose of life, even though you know nothing about it while still believing you do. This mind will inevitably bring suffering, just as wheels inevitably follow the axle of a cart. We are what we think. Everything we are arises from our thoughts. With our thoughts, we create the world. Speak or act with a pure mind, and happiness will follow you, like your unwavering shadow. Again, remember, when the Buddha speaks of a pure mind, he means no mind. Translating someone like the Buddha is exceedingly difficult. It is almost an impossible task because a master like him uses language in his own unique way. He creates his own lexicon. He cannot employ ordinary language with its conventional meanings, for he has something extraordinary to convey. Ordinary words are utterly meaningless when they refer to the Buddha's experience. The point is, he simply cannot use absolutely conventional language. No one would understand it. It would come across as mere babbling. That is how the notion of babbling enters existence. It originates from a Sufi named Jabbar, who invented a new language. No one could decipher its beginning or end. How can you possibly understand a language that is completely new? He sounded like a madman, uttering nonsense, speaking meaningless words. That is precisely how it happens. If you listen to Chinese without knowing the language, what you hear is nothing but gibberish. Once, someone asked a traveler returning from China, "How do they come up with such strange names for people? Ching, Chung, Chang?" The traveler replied, "They have a method. They gather every spoon in the house, then hurl them into the sky, and as the spoons fall, ching, chung, chang, or whatever sound they make, that is how they name a child." But that is merely circumstance. If a Chinese person hears English, he thinks, "What nonsense!" If such is the case for a language spoken by millions, imagine what it would be like if the Buddha invented an entirely original language. Only he would understand it, and no one else could. Jabbar did just that. He must have been incredibly brave. Everyone thought he was insane. The English word babble originates from Jabbar. No one knows what he was saying. Indeed, no one even attempted to collect his words. How could they? There was no alphabet, and his utterances produced no conventional meaning, so we remain unaware of the treasure we might have missed. The dilemma for the Buddha was this: either he must use your language exactly as you use it, which would render his experience utterly incommunicable, or he must invent a new language that no one would understand. Thus, every great master struggles in between. They use your language, but they infuse it with their own colors and flavors. The bottle may be yours, but the wine is theirs. And thinking that because the bottle is yours, the wine must be too, you end up carrying it for centuries, and perhaps believing it to be your wine simply because it comes in your bottle. You might even drink it and become intoxicated. That is why translation is so difficult. The Buddha employed a language familiar to those around him, yet he intricately wove his words in such a subtle, circuitous manner that even those who understood the language were left unalert, unshocked. They believed they were hearing their own language. He chose the term pure mind to denote no mind, because if you simply say no mind, it becomes instantly incomprehensible. But if you say pure mind, some communication becomes possible. Gradually, slowly, he would persuade you that a pure mind truly means no mind. Yet this takes time. Very slowly, you must be drawn into an entirely new experience. Always remember, a pure mind means no mind, while an unpurified mind means the ordinary mind. By using these adjectives, pure and impure, he is deliberately accommodating you so that you do not become fully aware too soon and flee. You must be seduced, enticed. Every great master employs seduction as an art. They lure you in such a way that, gradually, you become ready to accept whatever they offer. First, they provide you with plain water. Then, slowly, they mix in wine. Gradually, the water is drawn away, and before you know it, you are completely intoxicated. But it must be a very gradual process. As you delve deeper into this scripture, you will come to understand. An unpurified mind is merely the mind, while a pure mind is no mind. And happiness will follow you if you have a pure mind or no mind. Happiness will follow you like your shadow, unwavering. Suffering is a byproduct, and bliss too. Suffering is the side effect of sleep, while bliss is the side effect of awakening. Therefore, you cannot seek or pursue bliss directly. Those who attempt to do so are doomed to fail. Bliss can only be attained by those who do not chase it directly. Instead, they seek understanding. And when understanding dawns, bliss arrives in its own way, just like your shadow, steadfast and unshakable. Look at how it insults me and beats me, how it knocks me down and robs me. Live with such thoughts, and you dwell in hate. Look at how it insults me and beats me, how it knocks me down and robs me. Abandon such thoughts and live in love. There is something profoundly important here. Hate clings to the past and the future, while love needs no past or future. Love exists solely in the present. Hate relies on references to what has been. Someone insulted you yesterday, and you carry it as a wound, a lingering sting. Or you fear that someone will insult you tomorrow. The fear, the shadow of fear. And you are ready. You are being conditioned to confront it. Hate exists only when anchored in the past and future. Try to hate in the present moment, and you will find yourself utterly powerless. Experiment today. Sit in silence and attempt to hate someone in the now without recalling past grievances or anticipating future offenses. You simply cannot do it. It is inherently impossible. By its very nature, hate cannot arise in a vacuum. Hate can only exist if you recall the past. If someone wronged you yesterday, then hate becomes possible. Or if someone is about to wrong you tomorrow, then again, hate is possible. But if there is no reference to past or future, if this person has never wronged you, nor intends to if they merely sit before you, how can you hate? Yet, you can love. Love needs no such reference. That is the beauty and the freedom of love. Hate is self-imprisoning. It is a cage you construct for yourself. Moreover, hate begets hate, stirring up more hate. When you hate someone, you implant hate into your own heart toward that person, and the entire world is steeped in hate, in destruction, in violence, in jealousy, in rivalry. People are metaphorically choking one another in their daily lives, in their actions, or at the very least in their minds and thoughts. Everywhere, people are waging wars, committing murders. This is why we have, from this beautiful earth, created a kind of hell, a place that, in truth, could have been paradise. Love, on the other hand, transforms the earth into paradise. The immense beauty of love lies in its lack of reference. Love that arises from you is without reason. It is the overflowing bliss of your being, the sharing of your heart. It is the sharing of the very song of your existence. And when sharing is done with genuine joy, sharing for the sake of sharing with no ulterior motive, it becomes contagious. But what you have known as love in the past is not the love the Buddha speaks of, nor the love I speak of. Your love is nothing more than the flip side of hate. Therefore, your love is tainted by reference. Someone was attractive to you yesterday, so handsome that you felt a great love for him. That is not true love. It is merely the counterpoint of hate, a reference point that evokes it. Or perhaps someone will be beautiful to you tomorrow. The way he smiles at you, the way he speaks, the way he invites you to his home tomorrow. He seems destined to be charming, and from that, a great love arises. This is not the love of the Buddhas. It is a love camouflaged by hate. This is why your love can transform into hate in an instant. A slight provocation, and love vanishes, replaced by hate. It may not even cut deeply into the skin. Even those hailed as great lovers often end up in continuous quarrels, constant clashes, scraping, destroying, yet they mistake this for love. You might ask of Astha and Abhiyama. They are so in love that Astha nearly wears dark circles every day. They fight fiercely. And when such fighting endures, people believe that something vital is happening. For when nothing happens, no fighting, no quarreling, people feel empty. Fighting is better than emptiness is the idea held by millions around the world. At least, fighting keeps you attached, makes you feel involved, and gives you a sense of importance. Life seems to have some meaning, even if it is a flawed meaning, but at least it has meaning. Your love, however, is not true love. It is merely its opposite. It is a counterfeit love, dressed up as love, parading as love. True love has no reference. It does not dwell on yesterday, nor does it concern itself with tomorrow. True love is a spontaneous outpouring of joy from within you. It is sharing that joy. It pours forth without any reason, without any ulterior motive, pure, simple joy in the act of sharing. Like the sound of birds chirping in the morning, like a distant, unbidden melody, without reason. The heart is filled solely with a joyous, effortless song. When I speak of love, I mean this kind of love. Remember that. And if you can move in the direction of this love, you will be in paradise immediately. You will begin to create paradise on this earth. Love begets love just as hate begets hate. In this world, hate has never dispelled hate. Only love can dispel hate. This is the law, ancient and eternal. Eis Dhammo Sanantano. This law is eternal, ancient, and inexhaustible. What law is this? That hate has never dispelled hate. The darkness cannot dispel darkness, but only love can dispel hate. Only light can dispel darkness. Love is the light of your being, while hate is the darkness of your being. If you are dark within, you will cast out hate all around you. But if you shine from within, brilliantly, then you will radiate light around you. A true sannyasin must be love radiating, light radiating. Aes Dhammo Sanantano. The Buddha repeated this time and again. This is the eternal law. And what is the eternal law? Only love dispels hate. Only light dispels darkness. Why? Because darkness in its very nature is merely the absence of light. It does not possess a positive existence of its own. It is not truly there, so how can you directly dispel it? You cannot do anything directly to darkness. If you wish to act upon darkness, you must do so with light. Bring in the light so that darkness recedes. Bring out the light so that darkness is pushed back. But you cannot directly act on darkness. You cannot do anything directly with hate. Remember, there is nothing you can do directly to hate. And this is the difference between moral preachers and religious mystics. Moral preachers propose a law of struggle. They advise, fight the darkness, fight hate, fight anger, fight lust, fight this, fight that. Their entire approach is to battle against the negative, while the true master teaches you a positive law. Aes Dhammo Sanantano, the eternal law, do not fight the darkness. For hate is darkness, lust is darkness, jealousy is darkness, greed is darkness, and anger is darkness. Bring in the light. How is light brought in? By becoming silent, no-minded, conscious, alert, aware, awakened. This is how light enters. And the moment you become awake, aware, hate cannot be found. Try to hate someone consciously and see. These are experiments to be undertaken, not mere words to be understood. The experiments must be done. That is why I say, do not attempt to understand solely with the intellect. Become an experimenter of existence. Try to hate someone with full awareness and you will see it is impossible. Either consciousness vanishes and then you can hate, or if you are conscious, hate vanishes. They cannot coexist. They are mutually exclusive. Light and darkness cannot exist together because darkness is nothing more than the absence of light. The true masters teach you how to attain the divine. They never speak of renouncing this world. Renunciation is negative. They do not tell you to flee from this world. They teach you to find refuge in the divine. They teach you to attain truth without battling falsehood. And falsehood is manifold, millions of it. If you persist in battling, you would have to fight for countless lifetimes and nothing would be attained. But truth is one. Therefore, truth can be attained immediately. In this very moment, it is possible. You will also lose this. So how can you engage in disputes? Life is so short, so fleeting, and you are wasting it arguing. Devote all your energy to meditation. It is that very energy. You can either struggle against it, or you can transform it into light. Just as the wind can easily topple a fragile tree, if you seek happiness by indulging in endless eating and sleeping, you too will be uprooted. The Buddha said, "Remember, if you depend on the senses, you will remain extremely fragile because the senses cannot grant you strength. They cannot provide you with a lasting foundation. They are transient by nature. Everything is subject to change. Where can you find shelter? Where can you create a solid foundation? One moment, one woman may seem beautiful. The next, another may appear so. If you base your decisions solely on the senses, you will be thrown into constant turmoil. You cannot decide, for the senses keep changing their opinions. At one moment something appears extraordinarily charming, and at another it seems hideous and unbearable. And yet, we are so dependent on these senses." The Buddha continued, "Do not depend on the senses. Depend on awareness. Awareness is that which lies hidden behind the senses. It is not merely what the eye sees. If you consult an eye specialist, he will tell you that it is the eye that sees, but that is not the whole truth. The eye is merely a mechanism, a window through which someone else perceives. The eye is just a window, a gap. Who is behind the eye? The ear does not truly hear. Who is behind the ear to listen? Who is it that feels? Seek that, and you will discover a true foundation. Otherwise, your life will be like a dry leaf blown by the wind. The wind cannot topple a mountain. Temptation cannot touch the awakened, the strong and the humble, those who have mastered themselves and are mindful of the law. Meditation will awaken you, make you strong and humble. It awakens you by giving you your very first direct experience of yourself. You are not your body, nor your mind. You are pure, witnessing consciousness. And when this pure witnessing consciousness is stirred, a great awakening occurs, as if a coiled serpent suddenly uncoils, as if one who had been asleep is shaken and awakened. In that moment, an immense awakening arises within, the very first time you feel that you exist, the first time you sense the truth of your being. And surely that makes you strong. You are no longer fragile like a delicate tree that any gust of wind might blow over. Now you become a mountain. Now you have a solid foundation. You have taken root. No wind can topple a mountain. You become awakened, you become strong, and yet you also become humble. This strength does not give rise to any ego within you. You become humble because you recognize that the same witnessing spirit exists in everyone, even in animals, birds, trees, and rocks. These are merely different ways of sleeping. Some lie on their right side, others on their left, and some on their backs. These are just different modes of slumber. A stone has its own way of sleeping, a tree its own, a bird its own. But these differences are only in manner and method. Deep down, at the core of every being, is the same witnessing consciousness, the same divine. This realization brings humility. Even before a rock, you know you are nothing special, for all existence is fashioned from the same substance called consciousness. And if you become awakened, strong and humble, then you truly gain mastery over yourself. If a person's thoughts are like mud, if that person is filled with contempt and deception, how can they wear a yellow robe? The Buddha chose the yellow robe for his sannyasins, just as I've chosen an orange robe. This marks the difference between my approach and that of the Buddha. Yellow symbolizes death, the fallen leaf, the setting sun, the evening. The Buddha emphasized death greatly. That was one method. Emphasizing death has its use. It makes people increasingly aware of life through the contrast with death. And by repeatedly stressing death, you rouse people to awaken. They must be awakened because death is coming. Whenever a new sannyasin was ordained by the Buddha, he would say, "Go to the cemetery, and there, observe the burning, the corpses being brought forth, the cremation, just observe. And remember that this will soon happen to you as well. Meditate for 3 months on death, then return." That is the beginning of the sannyasin's path. There are only 2 possible approaches. One is to emphasize death. The other is to emphasize life. For these are the only 2 aspects of existence, life and death. The Buddha chose death as his symbol, hence the yellow robe. Orange, however, symbolizes life. It is the color of blood. It signifies the rising sun, the early dawn, the eastern sky turning red. My emphasis is on life, yet the ultimate purpose is the same. I want you to be so passionately in love with life that the sheer intensity of your passion for living awakens you. Death belongs to the future, while life is now. If you dwell on death, you are thinking of the future. If you think about death, it remains an abstraction. You see others die, but you will never witness your own death. You may imagine it, deduce it, or ponder it, but that is merely thought. Life does not need to be contemplated. It can simply be lived. It demands your attention more than death ever could. Thus, my choice is far superior to the Buddha's because life is happening right now. You need not venture to a cemetery. All you need is to be alert, For life is everywhere, in the flowers, in the birds, in the people around you, in laughing children, and within you, and in this very moment. You do not need to think about it or analyze it. You can simply close your eyes and feel it. Feel its pulse, feel its beat. Yet both approaches can be used. Death can be employed to help you become a meditator, or life can be employed. My choice is life. And I stress repeatedly that my choice is far superior to the Buddha's. The Buddha's selection of death as a symbol has rendered this nation lifeless, stagnant, and devoid of vitality. My choice, symbolizing life, has the potential to revive not only this country, but the entire world. Because not only did the Buddha choose death as his symbol, but Christianity also chose death as its symbol, the cross. Thus, the two largest religions in the world, Christianity and Buddhism, are oriented toward death. And because of these two religions, their impact has been immense. Christianity transformed the entire West, and Buddhism transformed the entire East. Jesus and the Buddha are among the greatest teachers, yet choosing death as a symbol has proven perilous, disastrous. I choose life. I want this entire earth to be filled with life, ever more abundant, vibrantly pulsing with energy. But just as the Buddha spoke of his yellow robe, I speak of my orange robe. He said, if a person's thoughts are like mud, if that person is filled with contempt and deceit, how can they wear a yellow robe? I say that anyone who possesses a genuine, luminous, clear, and correct nature is truly capable of wearing an orange robe. What he said about the yellow robe, I say about the orange robe. Anyone who is truly bright, clear, and rightly disposed can indeed wear an orange robe. AE's Dhammo Sanantano, Dhammo Sanantano, Dhammo Sanantano.